Well, guys, welcome back to the first episode of 2025, and we are sitting in our little makeshift podcast studio. And I thought, well, what are we going to talk about today? And I think what we'll do is we're going to chat about the plans for 2025 and what do we got in store and what's coming up, and then also to share a little story on somebody who took a chance on one of our hunt giveaways way back. I think we did it in 2022. He actually came out and hunted 2023, and that is my buddy Tim Wheeless. I'm going to have to get him onto the podcast, and we've got some exciting news for 2025 because Tim's coming back with his son. So in 2022, I decided to give away 2 hunts, which I've never been able to do that before. And I asked my family if I could use the accommodation. They gave it to me for free, and I put together a package of, I think on the package was a free bushbuck, warthog, and a bush pig giveaway hunt for 7 days. And guys, this is something that's really tricky to do, because if you post anything on social media, the first thing people say, it's a scam. So I stuck it out there. Then people were, it was super simple. I think you had to like the post, share it with 5 of your buddies, tag 5 of your buddies in it, and then post it to your story, and then like us on Facebook, Instagram, and I think like the YouTube channel. So we did this, and I had quite a few people who didn't hit all the steps, and then there were a handful of guys that hit the steps all correctly. So the guys had a time period, I think of 6 months to get entered. We left it up for a really long time, and eventually we got to the stage where we could draw names out of a hat. And Tim was one of the guys that we drew out of the hat. And then, funny enough, a buddy of his, I don't know if he tagged his buddy or his buddy tagged him, and we drew his buddy, Dave. And unfortunately, he couldn't come out, but Tim put it all together and came out. And I'll never forget, I phoned the guys, and they thought it was like a scam. And answering, I think Tim was busy teaching at the time, and he is a state trooper, so he was actually a teacher at the time when he won the hunt. And I'd phone him. I don't know if he had to come out of class to take the phone call. I remember chatting to him. He was sitting in his car saying, "Congratulations, bud, you've won this trip." And he was super stoked, and I managed to phone his buddy Dave, and he couldn't pull his off, but Tim took the gamble and came and hunted with us in South Africa. And what an adventure we had. So Tim came out and he tried to put together that he would hunt his buff in this time period of this giveaway. So we had plans of hunting a buff when he came out. We had plans of hunting a kudu, and then the species that he won, and an impala that would have been added to it. So, which was really cool. So he won a package where he had to pay for his flights and get you and come and hunt with us for 7 days or 10 days or whatever the gift was. And then he had free animals, and then he could add to the animal list. So he got you super excited. I was super excited. We grabbed Tim at the airport, and the first thing we did, we went straight from the airport because he landed super early, and we hit Addo Elephant Park. So Tim is an avid photographer. He takes beautiful pictures, and he took a bunch of pictures on our trip through. The game wasn't moving too great through Addo, but we got to see some buff, and we got to see some kudu, and the elephant that everyone go there to go and look. In Addo, you basically go and see all the elephant. So we made our way back here. Tim got to meet Alex, and we hit it off like a house on fire. It was just like I'd known him for years. So it made the trip super comfortable and super easy. And that's always what you want as a guide picking up a client from the airport. If you get into this industry, guys, you've got to be a people's person, and you really got to get to know your client and get comfortable with him from the word go. So we just started chatting outdoors, and he'd just come off an awesome trip hunting a black bear with Jim Shockey's crew, and he shot a really nice black bear, and his son was with him, and I was asking him stories about his black bear hunt, and he had taken his son with, and they'd experienced that. So that was really cool. So getting to know him a bit more on the hunting side of things. And we got here, I think we headed to the shooting range only the next morning because we arrived here quite late. And I took him out with his 375 that he brought for the buff, and he brought himself a Ticker 300. All set up really, really well. Got him set up at the bench, checked the rifles out. Super important, guys. I'll preach on this over and over again. Take your clients to the shooting range and get them to check their equipment, even if they are shooting with your rifle that you know is 100% accurate. Everyone's hold on a rifle and everyone's trigger pull is different, so you might have to slightly adjust your rifle to suit your client, and just to check that their rifle that has traveled all the way from wherever they're traveling from in the world, that it's got you in one piece and is still shooting accurately. And a big thing that people don't realize is altitude changes. So if they're hunting at high altitude and they're living at high altitude and they're zeroing their rifle at high altitude, it's going to shoot extremely different when you get to South Africa, where we are on the coast and we're at sea level. It's going to make a big difference. So make sure that the zero is correct. So we got him shooting there, checked both rifles, no issues. And then we went out to look for warthog, I think, that first morning, and bushbuck. We spotted a monster of a pig, especially for our area, because it's quite hard here where we are that the pigs do wear their tusks off. So we spotted a really big pig, and Tim and I put a stalk on him, and he gave us the slip. So no luck there, and off we carried on hunting hard for bushbuck. I think we saw some bushbuck females, but we never saw bushbuck ram. And this is how our pattern of our hunt went on. Then we went and sat in the bush pig blind, and the bush pigs kept giving us the slip. I had 2 feeders running, and I had a funny feeling that these pigs were bouncing between the feeders, and we were just mistiming them. So we didn't have any luck with the bush pig. So the next morning, I think we planned to... No, the next morning we headed out for warthog again, because obviously we knew where that boar was coming out. So we parked the trucks up and we started a little bit of a walk and stalk. Tim and I went and sat in a spot where we'd seen the pig, and I knew he was coming out there between 9:30 every morning. He came out and he was looking for females, and he would graze on these green patches. But further away from us, I dropped off the 2 trackers and put them in glassing areas to look for bushbuck, while we were setting our sights on this hog. And with that, one of the trackers radioed me and said, "Here's the big pig that gave us the slip." So myself and Tim booted it back to where we had dropped him, which was probably about, I want to say it was, as the crow flies, he was probably roughly 800 meters away from us. And we managed to get to a spot where he was watching the pig, and we snuck closer, and we got a little lower and got set up at around about 180 yard shot, because if we went any closer we'd lose sight of the pig. And got Tim set up on the sticks, and this is where we waited for the pig to give us the best shot possible. And he grazed around a bit, then I made Tim relax, and then he ate a bit, then he eventually turned broadside, and I said, "Well, if you've got him in the crosshairs, bud, let him have it." And Tim made the most perfect shot him behind the shoulder. He ran off into the thick stuff, and all I saw was a bunch of trees swaying where he just piled up into a ball. So we had got our first animal on this trip. So we scrummed our way through the bushes, got down there. Tim super excited on his first animal, set it all up, do what you have to do as a guide to get the best photos possible for your client. And being the hunt giveaway, Tim and I obviously had the tracker with the camera, and we did a little like hunt interview and first trip, and there's a full video of it, guys. If you want to watch it, it's on YouTube. Head on over there. And he took, he really spoke well, and he enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it being our first thing, super excited. And I'll never forget the tracker. We were busy doing the film, and when at the end of every film, I always say cheers. And you can hear the tracker on the other side of the film. He also goes, cheers, in the camera. So we laughed about that. It was really, really cool. So it's nice to see that everyone gets involved. If your trackers are excited about the hunt and you're excited about the hunt and you got a client who's geared up for this, it turns into a pleasurable hunt. So the next day, we decide to go out. So this is day 3 now. We're heading out for kudu. And what happens is the weather does a full 180 flip on us, from brisk, fresh, crisp mornings to rain. Guys, we don't have rain at winter time. It's not normally forecast for us. So we head out in the rain and we head to my cousin's place where we were going to go after kudu. So we get to the first place where, okay, the other guy's hunting the bottom section of his ranch. We're going to hunt the top section. There's a spot that I know where there's really nice kudu. And we get there, and then we drop the trackers out in looking points again, and we head to this looking spot, and we all glassing, and then the thick fog rolls in. And you're limited on 7 days, guys. This is like an absolute challenge, and it is pissing down on us. We're getting wet. Tim slips and falls in the mud, lands barrel down with his 300 in the dirt. And luckily this fog rolls in and we can't see anything. So I'm sitting there with a few, I think I even took a little twig out. We pulled the bolt out, pulled the ammo out of his rifle. I managed to get the dirt out. I was blowing down the barrel. We managed to get that barrel as clean as we could under the circumstances that we were there. I think I got all of it out because luckily when the mud hit it, it just hit it on the end of the barrel. So we're standing there, get the rifle loaded up again, bolt back in, and we're busy whispering to each other, and next minute the clouds just lift. And if any of you have hunted kudu and been on the side of a slope, I want to say it must be a bit like you guys hunting elk, glassing across valleys, and then you get that all of a sudden opening up, like absolute ta-da, like you're starting up your laptop, and next minute it's just, there's a kudu, there's a kudu, there's a kudu, and you're spotting them, and I'm like, Tim, can you see those kudu there? There's a bull. Okay, that bull's too small. Explaining to him as we're hunting what we're looking for. And next minute, out the corner of my eye, here comes a group of cows. I don't know what, they must have walked into the tracker and they came sneaking through, and behind this group of cows was a monster of a kudu bull. Eastern Cape bulls generally have got dark necks, guys, dark manes, and they've got a dark face. They're very different to the southern greater kudu that you find in Namibia, and you go, every area their kudu looks slightly different. More narrow horns than the big wide horns that you traditionally get when you're hunting in Namibia. And this absolute specimen of a bull comes out. And for the love of me, Tim can't see him. And I'm like, Tim, he's 150 yards. He's like right there in front of us. And then there was like 2 clearings, and he walked through the first clearing, and I'm like, Tim, do you see the second clearing? He's going to walk through in the second clearing. And the bull eventually went through the second clearing, and eventually Tim spotted him. So guys, this is where, with clients, you have to really try and keep your cool. It does get frustrating, but you must remember, everything is new and exciting. And when you start getting excited and the adrenaline's kicking in, I tend to think there's a blindness that comes with it, because you do get guys that all of a sudden, instead of trying to look in the spot that you had, their brain is so taken about that they like trying to look everywhere, and they don't want to miss their opportunity because of the limited time that they're there. And the excitement really kicks in. And eventually Tim spots the kudu and he's moving off. He gets set up. And I can hear this man's heart thumping in his throat. Then you know this animal means the world to this guy. And I'm trying to calm him down at the same time. And he's excited. He takes a shot and he misses the bull. And then the bull goes a little further and he takes a shot and he misses the bull. And I think he had 3 shots at this bull and he clean missed it. The bull got away. It jumped the fence and went into the next section of the property. My tracker had spotted him, so I told him to keep an eye on the bull. And we headed that way to him. We climbed over the fence. There is a thin little strip of bush, guys, and there's a reason why these animals are called the grey ghost. I promise you, we sat on the hill point. Excuse me. And the tracker, we put him down there. The cows all came out. And as it be, that damn bull vanished. So Tim got his first experience of the grey ghost absolutely disappearing on us. So that was our morning. We carried on hunting really, really hard. And we were after springbuck as well for Tim. And the weather just was against us. Trying to find kudu, it's grey. They blend in so well. You don't get to see them in the bush too well. You're always looking for that thing that doesn't stick with the bush. So often when you spot a kudu in thick stuff, the inner part of the kudu's ear is quite bright. So it's like a pink color. You spot that when they're listening, or you spot a horn shining. But when there's no sun, you don't see any of this. So we decided we're changing focus. And now we're going after our springbuck. So my cousin had some springbuck on the property there. And he'd asked me specifically, please don't shoot the rams in with the females. Try and look for the bachelor herds. So we drove in. Now it's pouring with rain and we're driving. The guys are all sitting in the vehicle. And we just basically peeking as we're going along. Then it settles a bit. Then it gets wet a bit. Then it settles a bit. And eventually we spot some springbuck. No ram there that we were interested. They were all young. Then we spot a group of females and a ram with them, so we don't go after them. And as we crest the top of this hill, out the corner of my eye, I spot a lone ram. So we hop out the truck, try and get ourselves from behind some bushes, but the wind is belting it, guys. And he's just feeding along. We had the wind in our favor, but it's had a bit of a crosswind to it, like a bit. I'm being polite. It was extreme crosswind. And eventually we got set up and the springbuck was moving behind bushes. And then there was these 2 bushes and it made like this little cavity. And I said to Tim, as soon as he steps in that hole, you can smoke him. Tim lets off the shot. And with that crosswind, it took that 180 grain bullet and it pushed it. And we weren't shooting far. It was probably 120 yards, if that. And it pushed that bullet that it got him, center punched him. So a little bit of the gut and the back of the lungs, and off the springbuck took. Now, as a panicking PH, there goes a springbuck that you got to go after, and it's raining. And all I'm worried about is we're going to lose the blood. But because Tim was shooting with a 300, it put enough trauma in that body, and that animal didn't go very far, and he went and lay down. So Tim and I walked over, and we actually bumped him. We found the spot where he was, and he took off. So I shouted for the guys to bring Rocky, and then we popped Rocky on the blood track, and Rocky was following the blood track, and he's a bit green. Rocky is a younger dog, and he's good at his track, but he does get distracted quickly. And next minute, the goats woke up here, and he took off after the goats. I called him back. He went back on the blood track, and with that, he was heading straight towards the springbuck, and we saw it lying underneath the trees. And before it could take off again, Tim put in a perfect shot and rolled him over. So we finished up that day with at least the springbuck in the bag. So we get that all packed out. We head home, extremely wet, slippery roads, and head back home. And in this time, Tim has decided we are not going to go after the buff. We are going to save that for his next trip. And we are going to carry on hunting hard for kudu. So we decide we're going back to my cousin's place the next day, come hell or high water, whether it's raining or not. And off we go. So we head back. So now, when we head back, you must remember this is day 4, guys. So now we past midway of our hunt, and it's pouring with rain. I won't forget. But the problem is when we get there, the rain settles. So now you're walking through bushes that are head high. It's called, what we call it, speckworm. It's elephant bush, the elephant plant. They eat it. But what happens when it rains, this thing holds water. So even though you're not getting rained on, it's bitterly cold. When you're walking through this stuff, you are getting absolutely drenched. Drenched. So we take a hike up this property. It's a cliff face. You got to climb against the fence. And then these beautiful valleys on as you go along. And then it makes this absolute amphitheater bowl that we always look in for kudu. The sun hits there early in the morning. It's sheltered from the wind. And then you look in all these little blind valleys where the kudu have eaten their way down in the evening, and in the mornings they're working their way up to catch the sunlight. And we spot kudu. This is one property where I take guys and I guarantee them they'll see 30, 40, 50 kudu in a day. You know, we're not talking trophy bulls, but the number of kudu on this property that I've got available to me is unbelievable. You'll see cows, you'll see calves, you'll see young bulls. And that's what happened when the sun came out and we were spotting kudu after kudu, mountain reedbuck, warthog. We were really on a roll of seeing animals this day. And we spotted a bull and we took a closer look. He wasn't quite, and I said to Tim, that's not the bull we're after. He's not quite mature yet, not finished. And with this, an absolute beaut of a kudu bull, what we call a finished bull or a klaar bull if you hear your PHs talking. Absolute hooking forward bull, super wide horns, and he's behind a cow. He's hot behind a cow. So we start scurrying. And we scurry, and we get to an advantage point, and the bull disappears. But with that, the neighbors, obviously with the break in the weather, you can hear them. They're busy cracking their whips. They're collecting sheep and goats. And these kudu just sneak into this amphitheater and they just sit in this bowl. But now, where we had the advantage of them sitting in the sunlight, these kudu had managed to work their way into the bowl, into the shadows. And I spot the kudu cows. With that, the bull comes out. But now, guys, you must remember, I've got years of experience behind me where spotting animals and looking for specific animals is my job. I spot things quickly and I can pinpoint it. But unfortunately, you got to be patient with your client again, guys. The kudu came out and Tim could not see this bull. And we were also stuck. We were sitting at about 280 yards. We couldn't get any closer. I knew Tim had the capabilities of smoking this bull. But now it was to get Tim to spot him. And eventually Tim spotted him. There was like a white tree, euphorbia tree that you could see. And the bull was standing to the left of it. And a little bit more left to that were the cows. But they were listening back to these guys collecting stock. And eventually Tim spots him. But what happens was they spooked. They ran past the tree and they stood again. And Tim took a shot. But I think with the excitement, anticipating, like Tim actually shot high. So what we call it is, I call it peekabooing. So with the excitement and stuff, and what happens with clients, probably 90% of the time is off a set of shooting sticks if they haven't really practiced a lot with it. And also, guys, in South Africa, everything sticks you and pricks you, and it's very difficult to find a place where you can get up, set up prone to use your bipods. So hence the reason, that's why we use shooting sticks. And the reason for peekabooing is a client will get set up on the animal and he will squeeze the trigger. But with the squeezing of the trigger, they kind of drop the butt in their shoulder and they peek over the top of their scope. And this is what I think happened with Tim, because he had him so dead set in his sights, he wanted to see if the animal is dead. I'm famous for it. I've done it before in the past. But the big thing is you got to keep your composure and keep looking through that scope. Once you squeeze it, you got to see where that animal goes to when that bullet goes off. And obviously shooting a big caliber, you will lose sight for a fraction of a second in between the reload and get back on the animal again. And what happened was when Tim reloaded and got back up on the sticks again, he couldn't find the bull. And that's where the bull started moving. And then it eventually, when Tim spotted him, it was a 300-yard shot. He had a go at him again. And by that stage, they were moving now. Now he was running and he went around the point, and that's where we lost the kudu bull. Tim didn't hit him. So we sat there quietly, we gathered our thoughts, and we decided, well, if he's run around the point like this, hopefully he's gone into the next valley and we can bump him again. But no luck with that. But on our way there, with the cold weather and rainy weather, we were walking along the fence line to head over the hill. It's the only path to get there. And with that, I walked straight into, I think it was 3 warthogs. They were lying in a little clear patch, the wind's blowing, and they had the sun on them, but I'd woken them up from their sleep. Well, did the chaos erupt there. The warthog ran at me, then the warthog ran at Tim, and with that, they nearly ran the trackers clean over behind us. But luckily, it missed all of us, and they ran down into the valley, and we carried on our stalk, got to the next lookout point, and we had spotted nothing. Absolutely nothing. So we decided, no, well, let's head off down into the riverbed. We'd seen some mountain reedbuck the day before, and I'd shown Tim what the mountain reedbuck were. And you're up in the mountain, okay, what we call mountains, guys. It's not like the mountains you guys hunted, but you're up in the hills. And we were just looking, and we went down and we were looking for bushbuck, because now we're looking in the cliff faces where the bushbuck like it. Spot some bushbuck female, no luck, no rams, and then we spot a beautiful Nyala bull. And my cousin, no quota on Nyala, so we left it and off we went. So we hunted hard that afternoon. I think we spotted some more kudu, no big trophies, and we went home empty-handed this day. So we get back home, and I said to Tim, listen, tomorrow's predicted another really, really crappy day. Let's rather concentrate on trying to get the bushbuck out the way and hunt it home. And there's a farm across the drag from us. Let's go after impala. So the farmer could help us out in the afternoon. So in the morning, we spent the morning hunting bushbuck. Females, no rams, weather was crappy, wind, rain. And then eventually we headed over in the afternoon, and then what happens? It pours with rain and we get wet, and the farms are so wet that you can't get around them. We bumped the impala a few times. Luckily, I was aware of what was going on, or I had my eyes open, because I actually set Tim up on a ram, and I saw him there and he was big and he put his head down. But the farmer failed to tell me that he had some tagged rams that he'd introduced. Luckily, Tim didn't shoot it. I said, let's head back. We'll do another approach from another angle. And I got the guy that was sent with us. I said, there's some tagged rams here, what's going on? No, don't shoot those. I said, well, good thing I had my wits about me and we didn't shoot that ram. And we put a stalk through the thorn trees. Holy smokes, guys. The biggest kudu bull in this area that I've ever seen walks out and stands 30 yards in front of Tim and I, and there's no quota on this farm. We literally had to wave that kudu goodbye. And the kudu bull left. We spot some cows because now we're walking amongst these thick thorn trees. Man, and we get no luck with these impala. The rain, the wind just threw us off. So we head back, we light a fire. Tim and I chat quite a bit. We sit by the fire, we try and dry our boots off because we need them for the next day. And I said to him, Tim, we've got two options. I've got a new farm that we can go that I've never explored before, or we can head back to where we missed that bull and let's go look for a bull there. And we both decided heading back there was our best option. So we head back, and guys, you must remember this is day 6 now, hey, that we're heading back there. We got one more day after this for hunting. So we are really bringing it down to the wire. We've only got the warthog and we've got the springbuck in the bag. So we head off and we start on that place where we missed this bull. So we do the same walk again. We spot bulls, nothing. And eventually we get to the end of the walk and we spot a beautiful mountain reedbuck ram. So I said to Tim, I said, there's a beautiful mountain reedbuck ram. This is a hell of a hunt that we're on. Would you rather shoot the mountain reedbuck instead of us trying to go and hunt impala again, where we tried to hunt them where it was super wet? We got this opportunity in front of us. And this is the beauty about South Africa, guys. You could change animals on the fly. You can decide, okay, well, I'm not going after that. Let's go after something else. Or something really, really good walks out in front of you. And this is what Africa's all about. It's opportunities. And Tim said, let's make a stalk. So we made a stalk on him. We got all set up and a beautiful perfect shoulder shot on this mountain reedbuck, and down he went. So we got that one out the way and we carried on hunting hard. We hunted right until the sun set on us and we did not get a kudu. And all this time, guys, you must remember, Tim still got a free bush pig and a free bush buck that we still after. But the weather is just not on our side. So Tim and I get back super late. We have some dinner. And I said to Tim, let's head to the bush pig blind. And I'd kind of figured these things are starting to do a run on me. So we rush off to the first one, which is close to the house. Get there, and all the corn's been eaten. I said, we got to get our asses to the other side because these pigs are eating. This boar that I'm after is eating on the other one. So we literally walked straight from there. We walked straight over in the dark to the next one. And with luck, as we got there, this boar was coming in to start feeding. So he'd finished all the corn this side and he'd walked his ass all the way to the other feeder and he was coming to get his second dinner. And with that, we were struggling in the rain and clay, trying to get Tim set up. And then we had to cross this little clay thing and we slipped and we eventually got set up and the pig had vanished. And I said to Tim, I said, just hang 10. We're going to stand here quietly. This pig has heard us. He can't smell us. He doesn't know what it is. He's just gone off into the shadows. I'm sure he's going to come back. And with that, this boar walks in. And he walks in and he gets his way to the feeder. And as he stops at the feeder, Tim took his 375 this time because he said, well, it's come all the way to Africa. Let's get something with it. And Tim smokes that bush pig with that 375 and it does a donut there and it runs into the bushes. And I've learned from experience, guys, you don't follow a bush pig that has vanished into the thick stuff. Leave him and go look for him the next morning because often you bump them so much that you end up tracking them too far and never getting them, where you can just leave them to get sore and you will often find them expired 20 yards or 10 yards from where you shot them. So we head back, we're super chuffed. We have 1 day left to hunt. And the next morning we got to start our day with looking for a bush pig. So we head there in the morning with the dog. So I take young Rip with and I've got Rocky there. And we get to the feeder. It's rained the night. There's no blood on the ground. And we just said to the guys, the trackers, just go in here. This is where he ran in and disappeared because I'd marked it. And as we went in there, there's a path. He was lying 5 yards stone dead in the bushes there. So the best thing we did, we never pushed him. So it gave us plenty of time to get hunting. So we loaded him, took some photos, did some video, loaded him up. And I said to Tim, I've got an idea. I got a neighbor next door who's got loads of Nyala bulls. Would you be interested in swapping your Nyala, your kudu for a Nyala? I'll give it to you at the same rate, because that's what I can, offer you. And it means that we get better opportunities because there's lots of them, because it's too far to travel now to go hunt kudu. We can hunt kudu on our property. It's very thick, but we may never see a kudu because we still got a bushbuck to go after. And if we can get a Nyala now this morning, by lunchtime we can hunt bushbuck all afternoon for bushbuck. And he agreed. So off we went to the neighbor's property. Luckily the neighbor, he'd been glassing and he'd spotted one on a cliff face for us already, and he said, there's a really nice bull, go and have a look there. So Tim and I decided that he must carry on hunting with his 375. Let's get another notch on its belt. And we got set up. The Nyala was eating beautifully on the cliff. It gave us the prime opportunity. Shoulder shot, one shot kill, off it went. And now we had to carry this thing out. So myself and the farm manager there carried this Nyala bull out with the tracker while we're taking turns. And we get it out. And now we're down to the wire for this damn bushbuck. And we got all keen. We had a spot picked out. We'd seen some females. We went and spent the whole afternoon sitting glassing that spot. And guys, if you've hunted bushbuck in South Africa and experienced it, you will know it's either opportunity where you're glassing a spot and he pops out. But if you're physically hunting them, it's the closest thing to watching paint dry there is in the world. You got to literally put your ass in a spot and sit and glass for hours. Don't move, because a bushbuck is a very territorial animal, and you'll often find him set in a spot, frequenting it roughly around the same times. And if there's females there, if you've got a place where you found females, hit it when it's early rut, they will be around the females. And that's what we did. And unfortunately, the ram did not walk out before the sun went down. We saw females, we saw warthogs, and this is how we finished up our final day on our safari. And it was a cracker of a safari. And Tim thoroughly enjoyed himself. And this is where I get to in this story, where Tim took a chance on my company and took a chance on entering on a giveaway safari. And I think I made a good enough impression on Tim, because he has booked again with us. He's coming out in June. He's bringing his son with, and we're going after that damn kudu that gave us the slip. And we are definitely after a beautiful Cape buffalo. So he's coming out in June. Obviously, 2024 gave him time to get himself all geared up and prepped. But 2025 is a cracker. Tim's coming out with his son, and I'm so looking forward to that hunt. And we've got another hunt in May with an old client when I was a starting out guide way back in 2010. He was my first international or second international client that I'd ever guided. Way back then, we'd stayed great friends. He is a taxidermist out of Montana, and he is coming to hunt with me this year for his first Cape buffalo, and he is coming with a great friend of his, a hunting buddy of his as well, called Mike. So we got 2 buff on the cards in May and 1 in June with Tim. So we are super excited for 2025, and we are hoping to get more clients to book with us as show season starts now. Guys, if you're looking for a place to come and hunt, get in contact with us. We are not the biggest company. We're honest, we hunt hard, and we try and give the best South African experience out there. So this is just the exciting part for 2025. And we've got a great new lodge that we're using. So not the rustic cabins that I've got here where we set up as a podcast studio. These are still available for us to use, guys. But from my extensive research on what the international client is looking for, I had to up my game in looking for accommodation, because it's really strange, guys. We've put it out there for clients before. I've run polls. What is the international guy looking for in a trip to South Africa? And I think what's happened is, throughout the years, as a South African outfitter, they have pushed it to luxury safari more than actual safari. And this is just my personal opinion. So it's all based around what the accommodation is, the areas, and having the, I want to say, it's not like fancies, but like really, it's got to have Wi-Fi. It's got to have, a fancy place for your wife to stay and spend the day if your wife comes out. And I think maybe that's the whole theory of happy wife, happy life. So if you're going to come on safari, you're going to keep your wife happy. So these are the things we look for. So I've got a beautiful 4-star lodge that we have got on the Indian Ocean. It's got a beautiful view of the ocean and the river. And it's an awesome hunting ground as well. So the great part about this lodge as well, guys, is that when we're there, it's exclusive to me and my clients. So when I book it, there won't be anyone else. That where a lot of these guys do book lodges, you can have 2-3 outfitters hunting at a lodge and the property is big. With this, it's exclusive to me at the time period that I'm there, which is really, really awesome. And I'm super excited to get in there and start hunting. We're hunting 2 buffalo there. And the great part about this place as well, they run on a sustainable herd quota system and conservation, the big thing. So they have 2 buffalo tags available this year, and I'm hunting both those tags there with my clients. And then we are going to hunt what's available on their quota. If there's anything else that guys are looking after, I think there's blue wildebeest, there's nyala, there's impala, blesbuck, all the run-of-the-mill stuff that's available there. But they do run strict quotas, which is super awesome to see that there are still places out there that are managing their properties really, really well. They're not dump and hunt circuses like you can find in the industry. So that's a cool thing for 2025. And then the other thing I wanted to chat on was I did run packages, or not packages. I put them up as packages, guys. So they are ideas of what a hunt is valued at to hunt in South Africa with me. So you'll see on our social media platforms, there are buff hunts, and then I did a little bit of a mixture. It'll be a nyala and an impala, and so many days. Most of them are 10-day hunts, 3 animals, and those are out there. That I've got limited ones that I can do. They're out there to give the client, the listener, an idea of what an actual safari costs in South Africa. So these aren't show specials where everything's cut down and guys are fighting each other to make bookings at the shows because they are needing to fill their year up. And guys, I've got nothing against show specials. Just be careful and answer the questions. What are the limitations involved in the show specials? Are there limits on the trophy size? Are there limits on the horn size? Do you have to pay more when you pass a size? And make sure that you've got the T's and C's in front of you, because a lot of these things are really, really look good, but by the time you've added all up, once you've got the show special, it works out costing you more the same as booking a normal package. So just keep your eyes open to that. I'm not downing the show specials. You will find some great show specials out there from outfitters, but just ask the questions. I did a small podcast video, it's also on YouTube, of the things that you need to ask an outfitter. Make sure you ask them, especially now going into show season. And yeah, let everyone head over there, see what's available, get in contact with myself. I think that 2025 is the year where people need to get out and come and experience South Africa. Things are looking great in America, and hopefully you guys are going to be wanting to visit us and experience what we have to offer. So guys, if you're enjoying these podcasts, drop a comment there, hit us up on social media, and let us know what more you are looking for. I've got some other podcast ideas coming up, and it looks like the guys are enjoying my stories from my gun safe. So we've got a few of those coming up as well in the podcast, and they'll be posted on YouTube across all our platforms. So till later, guys. Cheers.